Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshulannaditam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him. So Ravi Teja, do you think you can come sit right here? Just so that kind of evens out the room a little bit. So, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, he explains many different things, philosophical points he makes. And one of the things that's mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita by Krishna is he discusses different people, specifically different types of people who approach him or approach the process of Bhakti Yoga. Oh yeah, I forgot to make announcements. If you have your phone with you, you could just take it and just throw it out the window. I'm just joking, but you understand what I'm trying to say. So yeah, Krishna explains there's different types of people who approach him, or the process of Bhakti Yoga. And specifically, he says there's 5 different people. So those of you who are versed in the Bhagavad Gita, do you think you could help us? What are those types of people? It starts with the Sanskrit word chaturvidha. Does anyone remember? Chaturvidha bhajante mam. Distressed. Yeah, 1 is the distressed. Okay. What other ones? Okay, the distressed. What is it? Yeah, 1 who's after wealth. Okay. What else? Knowledge. 1 who's seeking knowledge of the absolute truth, and the last one is curious, right? 1 who's curious, inquisitive. So those who are searching for knowledge of the absolute, those who are curious, those who are in distress, and those who are after money, and the 5th one. Remember the 5th one? Yeah, it says chatur. Chatur actually means 4. Chatur vidha bhajantama. It actually says 4, but the 5th one, I'm just joking. But the 5th one is those who want to marry. And what do I mean by that? That's a good question. What do I mean by that? Well, recently there was a call to the temple, and I answered the call. And I was talking to this man, and he was saying how he's having a hard time in his life, and he's a spiritual person. He believes in higher principles and morals and this and that, but he's having a very hard time. And you know why he's having a hard time? One of the reasons is he says, I'm looking for a wife, but I just can't seem to find one. So I thought maybe you guys could help. And he said he's been looking for a while. I mean, like many years, like over a decade. So I just told him, you could, anyways, you could come to the temple, you know. You could come at 5 p.m. on Sundays, and you could start out there. That's what I told him. No, actually, what I should have told him, because I wasn't thinking about it, I said, you know what, you've been trying so long to get married, you should just become a monk. That's what I was meaning to tell him, because it doesn't seem like it's really working for you. Actually, he said 40 years. but it's not really working for you. He's been looking for 40 years, but you should just become a monk. But somehow or other, my mind wasn't sharp at that time. Actually, anyways, I actually just got up from a nap, so my mind wasn't, going so fast at that time. But it's interesting because it is on people's minds. So, people, they think, okay, should I get married? Should I not get married? Why should I get married? Why should I not get married? It is on people's minds. And even if it isn't on people's minds, people may bring it up to you. And then it will have to be in your mind. And you could say one, at least, example of this is that, as you could see by my appearance, I'm a monk, and like the top three questions, I'm not going to tell you what two of them are, just for fun. But the top three questions, one of them is, are monks allowed to marry? That's one of the questions. I mean, I've spoken with hundreds and thousands, and I'll say thousands of people. I've been here for about, over a decade, 15 years, and I've spoken with a lot of people, and that's like the top three. Actually, I'm telling you one of the top three. That are monks allowed to get married? There's most of the monks do get married. But there's other type of monks. You could say like teacher monks. There's student monks and there's teacher monks. So the teacher monks, they don't get married. It's actually a vow. They take a vow not to. They call that, in Vedic times, they would call that, what is it called? Brihad Vrata. It's a Brihad Vrata. That means a terrible vow. Means could be a little challenging to do. And, for people thinking, oh, should I not? It's a good question, because sometimes people wonder, what's the point? Why should I? I mean, what's the divorce rate nowadays? 98%, is it, in America? It's supposed to be a joke. I'm just joking. Of course, it's not 98%, right? Can't be that much. 50. Is it 50? It's been 50 for the last 10 years. You think it'd go up a little bit. Anyways. Yeah, that's true. So it's a high chance, at least in America, that particular thing won't work out. Like Vijay Prabhu looked it up. He told us in class, right here, Vijay Prabhu. What was it? How many?
7,000 divorces a day.
Well, 7,000 divorces a day. That's one thing, but there was like a world record of a man and a woman, and how many times they got divorced and remarried? What was that?
Yeah, like 11 times or something like that.
Oh, 11? Well, that's it, huh? Okay, I thought it was going to be more.
Other.
And then they married each other.
They both have been divorced like 11 or 12
They both
times.
They both divorced 11 or 12 times, and then finally they married each other. Did it work out?
Probably got divorced.
Probably got divorced. So here's a question for all of you. Why do people get married? Any answers out there? Anybody wanna? What's the point? Love. All right, good answer. Convenience. Okay. Stability. Okay.
Raise a family.
Raise children. Okay. Raise a family. Family pressure. Who said that one? Okay. All right. There we go. especially in India. I mean, there's those of you who are from India. It's a whole nother world. In America's, they kind of, at least some families, they'll just kind of let you slide. Okay, if you want, whatever kind of floats your boat. But in India, it's like, hey, when are you getting married? Like, it's a lot of pressure. So I've heard. The mothers and fathers are putting a lot of pressure on the children. Means the grown-up children. So someone said convenience. So what did you mean by that? Convenience.
It's a word that wraps up the other words such as money, family pressure, like love, and then all the other things. I think all the other things kind of wrapped up in convenience.
Okay.
Marriage convenience, if you split the bills.
But then they tax you more. Right. Yes.
Someone to share your inner joy with.
Okay. Someone to share your inner joy with. Well, that's hoping we have some inner joy, right? It's like, oh, I thought I married this guy or married this girl. I thought she had some inner joy, but then, anyways. Yeah, that's true. Inner joy. Yeah, help each other on their path, grow with, navigate. Yeah. So these are different reasons. People, because of loneliness. I mean, there's many monks, and sometimes the young monks, due to just human nature, they may get lonely. And they say, oh, well, I'm lonely. I need somebody to share my time with. Of course, there's many monks who don't get lonely. And they learn how to share their time with, their friends and their family and other people, and that therefore they don't require to get married. But loneliness is there as well. It's sometimes it's scary. People may think it's scary. Oh no, I have to be alone. I have to live alone. This is scary. This is terrible. But one thing about that is, whether we marry or whether we don't marry, spiritual life, it actually trains us or teaches us or allows us the ability not to suffer with those emotions of loneliness, for example. In other words, we're self-satisfied. We're not needing much. External confirmations, pats on the whatever, you're doing a good job, or keep it up, or we don't need much validation. Yeah. Of course, every once in a while, it's good, even for the monks. Sometimes you wonder. We give a number of talks. I don't know. I've been speaking for so many years, at least once a week, maybe twice a week, maybe 5 times a week. And it could be a little challenging because I know what I'm saying, but I don't know what everybody's thinking. I haven't developed that mystic power yet. So whether the message is encouraging to someone, sometimes they just don't say. Most of the time they don't say. So it's helpful sometimes if someone says, hey, I really like what you said, or I didn't like what you said, or whatever, just to get some type of reciprocation. So that is there as well. I remember we have our Shachi Priya here. He's cooking, I think, in the kitchen. He helped make the dinner. And he told me that one time he was in the kirtan in the temple chanting. We're all singing together. And what I did is I grabbed him by his arm, and then we were spinning around together. And transcendental happiness, chanting Hare Krishna. So then later, he spoke to me sometime later, and he said, when you grabbed my arm like that and we were spinning around, he said that was like life transforming to me. He said that at that time in the kirtan, I was standing there and I was thinking, what am I doing here? In essence, this is bored, maybe I shouldn't be here, why am I here? His wife was encouraging him to be there, I think, but maybe he's listening in the kitchen. But, I mean, he did have attraction, but there was something going on in his mind where he had attraction, but he also had some doubts. Why am I here? So then we were spinning together, and he told me that. It was very life transforming. And after that, I became way more serious in spiritual life. I started chanting more and reading more, and now, of course, it's not just whatever due to that spinning, but other people have been encouraging him, and now he's initiated. For those who knows what that means, he's made spiritual vows. He has a guru and all that. So that was very encouraging. So even monks need that also, but so yeah. But there's different reasons: convenience, loneliness, share the bills, share inner joy, all these different things. So within, for those of you who aren't married and for those of you who are planning on it or maybe will in the future, in Vedic times or the ancient times of India, they would follow this system. It's a very interesting system, actually. What they would do is that the couple, they would have their astrology read to see if it matches up. In other words, some people just don't match. According to the time they were born, according to whatever, there's a whole thing going on there. Astrology, astrology. Everybody, maybe some people here had their astrology chart read, but some people just don't match. And it could be tough if somebody's following that, like my friend, Ravi, in India. Ravi Kiran. Those of you who know him, he's in this community, but he was like searching for a while to find a suitable match according to astrology, and he just couldn't find one. Like, everything was like bad. Like, the astrologer would tell him, yeah, if you get into this relationship, 5 years down the road, there's going to be a lot of problems, and it just kept on happening like that. Eventually he found someone. He actually just got married in Vrindavan, so he'll be back here soon. We'll see him here in the lounge. So eventually it worked out. I had a friend, they were going to get married, and they kept on going to these astrologers, and the astrologer's saying, yeah, it's not working out. This isn't a good idea. Eventually they just found an astrologer who said it is a good idea, So then they married. Because, astrologers, they have different calculations or miscalculations. That's okay. That's all right. What's the Krishna conscious or what's the Bhakti Yoga view on marriage? For some, it's unnecessary. For some, it's necessary. So that has to be found out. That has to be, you could say, thought about and realized by every individual. But one thing is that you could say modern idea, and when I say modern, we're not talking about West and East, we're talking a worldwide phenomenon, is the idea is that everything is just for my own pleasure or my own sense stimulation or sense gratification. This is a modern thing. It's actually been going on for a while, but so that's the problem, actually. People wonder what's the problem. The Krishna conscious point of view, the problem is seeing these relationships in a material way or in a mundane way. rather than seeing them as an outlet for spiritual advancement or spiritual progress. Like a boy sees a girl, oh, she's very attractive, let me marry her. Or the girl sees the boy, oh, he's very handsome, he's got strong muscles, whatever it is. There's like so many reasons, but I'm talking just plain out like material attraction or same sex, whatever attraction. So, and then they get married and then they get divorced really quick, or it all just like goes up in smoke really quick. There's no lasting nature to it. Because it was the start point was at a miscalculated, it was at a miscalculated, it was a miscalculation. Like, let's say, okay, you go to college, many of you are in college, you're taking some advanced math, right? And there's a, blackboard, they still have blackboards, right? Blackboard, and it goes all over the room, right? And then there's a long equation, right? It goes many blackboards. Now, if there's a mistake in the beginning, then you don't get the proper answer. You have to start all over. So the mistake in the beginning is that the goal of life is material acquisition, material sense gratification, material stimuli, and not self-realization. That's the mistake. And because the endeavors are undertaken with that mistake, then everything else doesn't work out. The wrong answer or the miscalculated answer is the result. It means unhappiness, suffering, anxiety, fear, all of those things. So the Vedic version or Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, we are not the physical bodies. We should think about that. Just try thinking about it. We're not the physical bodies. The physical body is different from us, right? You look at your hand. Hand, I am not the hand. I am the owner of the hand, right? Just like I may be the owner of this microphone. It's different from me. I'm observing it. I'm observing this harmonium here. It's different from me. So similarly, we're different from the body. So the miscalculation is to base everything on the body and the happiness and distress or whatever, comfort of the body. So if someone's going to marry, then they should think about that. Okay, am I the body? No, I'm the spirit, soul. Okay, well, how does a spirit soul go about marriage? Well, they keep the goal in mind, self-realization, or Krishna realization. They keep they don't forget about the goal. And for those of people who don't get married, they shouldn't also forget the goal. I mean, just because one's a monk or a single person doesn't mean that they can't forget the goal either. Very easy. It's very easy to forget the goal nowadays, right? So, therefore, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, he says, what does he say? What's that one? Yukta hara viharas cha? Where is that in the Bhagavad Gita? Here, can you show here? Yeah, share it with us, please. We'll see how on his toes he is. No, he'll find it. So we'll read this verse, and it really, I mean, if we could just follow this like one verse, like we'll save ourselves like so much trouble and problems and issues and unhappiness. It's like don't want to get too salvationist on you or on me, but it's a real lifesaver verse. We had one of the brahmacharis out there actually swimming recently on the ocean, and Tyler and who else? Mukunda Charan and Saul. So they're out there swimming, and then Tyler's kind of having a hard time. The current was going, and he was having a hard time. And all of a sudden, there's this lifeguard, and she comes up and, she pretty much saves him and brings him to the shore. So certain verses or certain knowledge, actually, it acts as a what do you say? As you could say, a life preserver. It means this is metaphysically speaking. We're talking about we're swimming in the ocean, and then we throw the Bhagavad Gita out, and then acts as like a life preserver or something. This is metaphysically speaking that the ocean of material anxiety and fear and all these problematic things actually that we're faced with. Knowledge actually will act as a preserver. It means we grab onto that knowledge and we don't have to be in this ocean anymore. We're above. Breathing very nicely. Not struggling, for our breath. So, pass that phone over here, please. Thank you very much. You didn't follow my advice earlier and throw it out the window. No, I'm just joking. This one's too expensive to throw out the window, huh? Okay. All right. So this is from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, text 17. So we'll say the Sanskrit just for fun. Gita means song. So the whole Bhagavad Gita is a song. Yuktahara viharasya yukta chetasya karmasu yukta swapnavabodhasya yoga bhavati dukkha. All right, here we go. Ready? A person who is regulated in their habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. So we're balanced. We're regulated in these different things, right? Whatever, eating, sleeping, recreation, work. We're balanced. But we're not just balanced in that, but then we practice yoga, or Bhakti yoga. We chant Hare Krishna, engage in these different processes of Bhakti yoga. So by doing these two things, having a balanced life, and then practicing Bhakti yoga, it says here, Krishna can mitigate all material pains. It means we don't have to suffer as much as somebody who's not living a balanced life and practicing yoga. Means one in material consciousness. So that's the beauty. And we shouldn't just, oh great, it says that on the phone or it says that in the book. Oh yeah, sounds really dogmatic, sounds really religious, sounds like garbage or whatever. I don't want anything. I mean, people have different ideas how it sounds. Maybe it sounds good. If it sounds good, great. But the point is we could test it. That's the idea. For those who say it is dogmatic, etc., okay, test it. Test it. See if it works. If it doesn't work, okay, then reject it. Don't reject it first before testing it. Test it. But it is interesting. It is interesting. So, yeah. Thank you. So yeah, does anybody have any questions or comments? Yes. She's been helping washing pots on Sunday. Good job.
Voices are going around. I'm trying to be quiet there, no show. Anyway, did I hear correctly? You said some monks will get married because they're lonely?
It may be a reason, yeah.
Well, but that's kind of an oxymoron in my opinion. Like, if you have Krishna, why would you get lonely? So maybe say, well, he get married because he loves a devotee. I'm not trying to judge this monk, but I'm just saying it seems like a little odd that someone who's on a Krishna path at that level would just get lonely and marry.
Well, Hare Krishna. Well, there's to remain single or to remain a monk and engage in the processes of Krishna or the process of Krishna consciousness, the process of Bhakti yoga full time. It's not necessarily easy. There's a lot of challenges. Just like rising early, for example. We rise by 4 in the temple every morning. That's a challenge, because it's not like when we talk about being a monk, it's not like, oh, well, the guy's a bachelor and he can just kind of do whatever he wants and, when he wants, more or less. Of course, no one could do whatever they want, right? So there's challenges, rising early, for example, not working for money, kind of living off, whatever kind of falls your way, which is interesting because I went to India 6 times, I think, maybe 5, and all as a monk, somehow or other, this person wanted to send me there, that person wanted me to send me there. So anyways, but yeah, it could be challenging. You don't have much personal space, not working for money, rising early, doing so many things, right? No one's appreciating. Not no one's appreciating, but you may want more appreciation, right? So it's a humble life, actually. So, and actually by nature, it actually says by nature, certain people, like based on their mind, based on their body, based on their astrology, actually, certain people are actually meant for a life of monk, and certain people aren't. And that doesn't mean that, the monk, because, they sleep on the floor, and, the married, we're talking about men monks right now, so, the monk, man, he sleeps on the floor, like I sleep on the floor. I've been sleeping on the floor it means there's a mat there, but it's the floor, it's not like a... So just because I sleep on the floor, and then the temple president, for example, in Los Angeles, he sleeps on a bed, and just because, in certain ways, he may not be externally as renounced as myself, in certain ways, maybe you could say that. It doesn't mean that, I'm a better, Hare Krishna than him. It doesn't mean that at all. Actually, he's better in so many ways than me. So, but it's just by nature. There's certain natures. Like our guru's guru, for example, one time, he looked at a monk's hand like this, and he said, "Oh, let me see your hand." So he looked at his hand, and he said, "Oh, you should marry," just by looking at his hand. Because there's also reading of the hand. You have something from your...
Perhaps I should say something, right? Because I'm like the living testimony.
Get married because
Yeah.
you love someone, but not because you're lonely.
Yeah, I think it's for those of you who don't know, who are new here. I was a monk here for about 7.5 years, and just 4 months ago I graduated, and I'm living life on the outside again. And it's interesting because these last 4 months feel like 4 years, readjusting to the external world. But back to your question, I'll just keep it raw. I'll keep it honest. There was nothing like feeling lonely or anything like that. I just felt like I would do better with another, right? So I'm still walking the spiritual path. I'm still following principles of spiritual life. I'm still on this path back to the divine, back to Godhead, on this path of self-realization. And perhaps I can walk that same path with another.
But you may love someone, but they may help you fulfill a need you have. Like, for example, it's not that a monk just marries, oh, I'm lonely, let me marry someone. Of course, they may see something, they may find someone, and they may love that person or have affection for that person. But at the same time, that person's helping them fulfill a particular need they have. And that need is maybe loneliness. And a lot of the times, that's what friends do, that's what people in relationships do. They fulfill a need that we can't fulfill on our own. Like for example, I have a joke, right, to tell you. I actually haven't memorized so many jokes. And some of them are religious jokes that are maybe borderline offensive, so I don't want to. But anyways, I may have a joke that I want to say, but how am I going to say that? I'm just by myself. So you have a friend, and you can say they help kind of fulfill each other's needs through different exchanges, And it doesn't have to be selfish. It's just part of human nature. Okay, Raj.
Thank you, Balaram. You mentioned one of the monks' training would be to get rid of the approval status of the world and confirmation bias, which with social media, I think every human being has to go through that. Is there a trap that we give up the approval status of the outside world and take on the approval status of spirituality or monks or elevated monks and want and seek their approval? Is there a way to escape that trap, or is that a positive thing?
Well, it's tough because whatever group you are in or subscribe to or belong to, they will all have certain, like, a value system. Like, you go to the bar, right? And they're like looking at you, hey, Raj, how much can you drink, Let's see, let's see how many beers you could drink, right? That may be their way to kind of validate you, for you to validate yourself, whatever, get their approval. So whatever group we're in, that's a challenge of being in groups, actually. But what are you going to do? You have to have some friends. Even if you just have one or two friends, they also may have something like that. But if things are based on Krishna consciousness or on trying to become spiritually realized, then I would say the type of ways in which, we may get someone's approval in spiritual life is by far more beneficial. Confirmation from the outside world? It could. Yeah, it could. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? It could be good and it could be bad. Like, it could be good in the sense that it's good to have a little peer pressure, to do the right thing or to do a good thing. But it could go, but it could be, I do the right thing, or I do the spiritual thing because I want people to recognize me as a great person. I want to be famous, not as a big drinker at the local bar, but I want to be famous as a spiritual dude, spiritual guy. Chant the most or whatever, be the most jolly or knowledgeable or whatever. So it could be dangerous in the sense because it just goes back to that same selfish, kind of self-centered thing. So
I have a comment on that. It seems as if it depends on what's the motivation.
Yeah.
If it's being done out of ego, where you're seeking validation to please others so that you can gain some recognition, then it can be degrading.
Yeah.
But if it's done with the pure intent of pleasing your... Sorry. Yeah, like if the validation is coming from like a pure heart where you're seeking the validation of your seniors, of your gurus, of your peers because you want to serve them better.
Yeah.
And then I feel like it could be upgrading that way. Uplifting.
Yeah, it could be uplifting, yeah. To have someone who's very spiritually advanced and realized, for them to be like happy with you and to say, hey, I see what you're doing and it's really great and like keep up the good work. I mean, it's very, it could be encouraging. We all need encouragement. So it could be done in different ways. Yeah.
Right. And it said like in our tradition of Bhakti Yoga that when the guru is pleased, when those who are spiritually advanced are pleased, and then that's how we make spiritual advancement, because by them being pleased, Krishna is pleased.
Yeah.
So,
You had something? Or
let's wrap things up.
I don't think I need that. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, I was just gonna say for the online.
Check.
check 1, 2.
So just kind of touch on what Raj said and Damodar. I might be wrong, but I think what he was asking is like, or I think this is what he was saying, that if you just serve the spiritual, like try to please the spiritual realm, and you kind of abandon the material world, I think there's like a karma link to it. You know what I'm talking about? Like I think it is right to please win favor from the spiritual beings and monks and all that stuff. But I think, serving the material world, like making money, spending money, I think that's karma, and that's linked to your spiritual growth. Like I think there's a relationship. What do you think about that?
It depends how you use it. You use your money, use your time. It could be karmic or it could be spiritual.
I mean, if I'm not. When I'm talking about the monks, that's obviously that's a system. But I'm saying like, Raj, is that what you were asking? Like about the relationship between spiritual? Okay, thank you very much.
Alrighty.
Okay, one last one.
Okay, Steven.
I can speak on the approval as well as the marriage. As far as approval, the Dalai Lama said that we should sound out both criticisms and praise alike from others, and we should find peace within ourselves. So even if people were telling I was doing a great job, I have to ignore that, and I really have to ask myself, am I really doing a great job? Because if I'm doing a terrible thing and people are encouraging me, that's, it's easy to get lost. So I need to ask myself, is this the right thing to do? So approval from yourself, that's really the most important thing. And you align your mind, your morals to, make sure that you're approving yourself of the right things. So if I was to join a religious order, it'd be good to look to the highest monks to see how I can serve the order a little better. But I should still criticize, or I should still not view their judgment as better than my own, because we're both human. So they can make a mistake just as easily as I can, and if I don't give that, like if I don't sound out their praise and I just accept their praise because they're a senior, then I could get lost, especially if their praise is misguided, and that's possible. We're all human. As far as true love, I think that marriage is it allows us to spend time with somebody that makes us want to be a better version of ourselves. So I'm okay with being alone because I constantly strive to be a better version of myself. But if I met somebody that made me want to even be better than that, then it makes sense to try and be with this person if there is a mutual love and respect and support. So I think that is the purpose of marriage, to find someone that you respect, love, and support as a friend, and someone that motivates you to be a better version of you than without that person.
Thank you. Good. All right. Okay, so we could continue during dinner if you like. Seems like there might be more to discuss.
Yeah.
You like to make?
Okay, we're gonna wrap things up here.